There's a moment every trader knows, that quiet second when the loss still stings and your mind whispers just one more. You know it's dangerous. You know it's the same trap you've fallen into before. But it feels different this time, doesn't it? You tell yourself it's logic. You tell yourself it's redemption. But it's not. It's memory. It's ego. It's the past refusing to die. This is the fallacy that keeps traders chained to the very pain they're trying to escape. The belief that what's already lost can still be fixed, that one more trade can make it all make sense again. In today's reflection, we'll explore what it means to truly let go, to end the just one more cycle that quietly destroys discipline, peace, and accounts alike. Take a breath. Slow down. This isn't about charts. It's about you. I used to tell myself just one more trade, just one more chance to make it back, just one more move to erase the pain. But every time I said those words, I wasn't talking to the market. I was talking to myself, the part of me that couldn't accept being wrong. I remember the glow of the screen late at night, that sick mixture of exhaustion and adrenaline. The chart moved like a pulse. Every candle felt personal, like it was mocking me, daring me to act. I told myself I was being disciplined, that I was following my plan. But deep down I knew I wasn't trading a setup, I was trading my regret. The sunk cost fallacy, that's what psychologists call it. But it doesn't feel like a fallacy when you're inside it. It feels like duty. You've already given so much time, effort, emotion that quitting feels like betrayal. You tell yourself you've invested too much to walk away. But what you're really doing is protecting your ego from admitting defeat. I used to believe that staying in the game was strength. Now I see it was fear dressed up as resilience. Fear of facing the silence that follows loss. Fear of seeing that maybe I wasn't as in control as I thought. Every one more trade was a small rebellion against reality, a refusal to accept what was already gone. It's strange how the mind works when you're losing. You start to see patterns that aren't there. You start convincing yourself that the next candle will reverse, that the market owes you a correction. It doesn't. The market doesn't even know you exist. But your emotions, they make it feel personal. They whisper that you can fix it, that you can get back what you lost. And so you click again and again and again. Each click feels righteous, like you're reclaiming something. But you're not reclaiming profit. You're reclaiming the illusion of control. And illusions cost more than any losing trade ever could. I've spent years studying my own reactions, trying to understand why I couldn't stop when I knew I should. It's not stupidity, it's biology. The brain hates wasted effort. It's wired to seek closure, to complete unfinished loops. Loss feels like a story cut off in the middle. And so you open another position hoping to write a better ending. But every better ending you chase is just a new chapter in the same tragedy. There was a day when I finally saw it clearly. It wasn't a big loss that broke me, it was a small one. A trade I should have closed but didn't. I added to it. I averaged down. I told myself this is smart money management. But it wasn't. It was desperation. And when the account finally hit its limit, I sat there staring at the screen, not at the numbers, at myself, at the face of someone who couldn't let go. That moment changed everything, because I realized I wasn't fighting the market anymore. I was fighting my own past. Every loss was a ghost I refused to bury. Every one more trade was a funeral I never held. When you're in that state, the charts stop being charts. They become mirrors. You start seeing your fear in every candle. You start reacting not to price, but to pain. The irony is that the more you try to fix the past, the deeper you sink into it. The more you trade from emotion, the less you actually trade. You just perform trading as therapy. There's a moment right before you click again, that flicker of hesitation. That's the truth trying to speak. It's the tiny, quiet voice saying you don't need to do this. But dopamine is louder. Hope is louder. The need to feel whole again is louder. And so you silence that whisper, and the cycle continues. I've seen traders destroy themselves chasing one more trade, not because they didn't understand risk, but because they couldn't tolerate regret. They would rather risk their account than face the emptiness of stopping. That's the real addiction, not to trading, but to the continuation of it. As long as you're still in the game, you haven't really lost. You can still tell yourself a story where you win. But that story is the very thing that's keeping you trapped. I started asking myself, what am I really trying to recover? The money or my pride? Most of the time it was pride. Money can be earned again. But pride, once bruised, demands repayment. And in that demand, it makes you reckless. The first step to breaking free was admitting that a trade doesn't owe me closure. A loss doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to be accepted. Acceptance is ugly at first. It feels like failure. But underneath, it's liberation. Because once you accept, you stop chasing ghosts. You stop trying to rewrite history. You start trading in the present, not the past. I began to treat every loss as a teacher, not in a cliche way, but literally. I wrote down what I felt, not what I did. What was I afraid of when I refused to close? What story was I trying to protect? Slowly patterns emerged, and I realized the market had been showing me the same lesson all along, that mastery isn't about prediction, but detachment. The sunk cost fallacy isn't a trading problem, it's a human one. We hold on to failing relationships, failing businesses, failing habits because we can't stand to feel that our time was wasted. But time wasted is only wasted if we keep throwing more of it away. The moment you let it go, it becomes experience, and experience is never lost. Trading taught me that every decision has two prices, the financial cost and the emotional one. You can manage the financial cost with stops, but the emotional cost requires something deeper honesty. You can't set a stop loss on denial. You have to face it directly without judgment. There's a quiet moment after a big loss if you're brave enough to sit in it. No noise, no charts, just silence. That's where the real growth happens. Because in that silence, you meet the part of you that's been driving the chaos, the part that believes winning equals worth. That's the trader you have to fire, not from your account, but from your identity. I remember the first time I decided to stop after a losing streak. It felt wrong. Everything in me screamed to get back in to prove I could turn it around. But I forced myself to walk away. I closed the platform, left the desk, and went outside. The air felt heavy at first, like the world was continuing without me, but then it felt peaceful. For the first time, I realized that walking away wasn't weakness. It was control. The kind of control I'd been chasing inside the market but could only find outside it. That's when I began to redefine what it means to be disciplined. Discipline isn't the ability to push harder. It's the ability to stop when pushing makes no sense. It's knowing that one more trade won't fix you. It will feed the part of you that's broken. When you trade to escape a feeling, you'll always lose twice, first in money, then in meaning. But when you trade with awareness, every outcome, win or lose, becomes information. And information is neutral. Emotion makes it dangerous. Detach the emotion, and you reclaim your power. Every time I say no to the impulse for one more trade, I reclaim a piece of myself. It's not easy. The urge never fully disappears, but it gets quieter. And in that quiet, something stronger grows clarity. That's the first half of the story, the realization, the confrontation with the part of me that couldn't stop. The next part is learning how to stay stopped, how to rebuild discipline from the ruins of ego. When I stopped trading out of revenge, the silence felt unbearable. The charts were quiet, but my thoughts were loud. The mind doesn't know how to rest when it's used to chaos. It keeps searching for something to fix, something to do. But I learned that stillness isn't nothingness. It's space, the kind of space where awareness grows. At first, I tried to fill that space with analysis. I told myself I was studying, but deep down I was still running from the same feeling: discomfort. Discomfort of being wrong, discomfort of not knowing, discomfort of waiting. The truth is, every impulsive trade is an attempt to escape a feeling we haven't learned to sit with yet. So I started to sit, not in front of the screen, but with myself. I'd take a notebook and write what I felt every time I wanted to press the button: frustration, shame, restlessness. And as I wrote, I began to see it clearly. These weren't trading emotions. They were human emotions looking for an outlet. Trading had just become the stage where they performed. We all have this theater inside us, the one where the past keeps replaying, begging for a better ending. That's what just one more trade really means. It's the mind begging for redemption. But redemption doesn't come from repetition. It comes from recognition. Once I recognized the pattern, I could interrupt it. When the urge came, I'd pause and ask myself, what exactly am I trying to win back? That question cut deep because the answer was almost never about money. It was about identity. I wanted to feel competent again. I wanted to feel worthy again. I wanted to erase the version of me that lost. But the truth is, that version of me never goes away. It just waits silent until I stop pretending it's gone. You can't kill the parts of yourself you dislike. You have to integrate them, understand them, talk to them, forgive them. That's how you take your power back. Forgiveness is the hardest stop loss to set because it doesn't protect your capital, it protects your humanity. When you forgive yourself for losing, you stop trying to recover from your own existence. You stop turning trading into therapy. You start seeing it for what it is: a game of probabilities, not validation. There was a day when I opened my platform and felt nothing. No urge, no fear, no rush, just presence. The market moved and I moved with it, not faster, not slower. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I wasn't chasing anything. That's when I realized I wasn't trading the market anymore. I was trading myself patiently, precisely, with compassion. This new way of trading feels different. Every trade is a conversation, not a battle. Every loss is a sentence in the story, not the end of it. The obsession with getting it back has turned into curiosity. What can I learn from this? And curiosity is lighter than revenge. It doesn't weigh you down. It lifts you toward growth. But the old voice still visits me sometimes. The whisper that says just one more. It doesn't shout anymore, but it still knows my name. I've learned not to fight it. Fighting gives it strength. Instead, I listen, I nod, and I let it pass like watching a wave that no longer scares me. Discipline isn't about building walls around your emotions. It's about learning to stand still while they crash through you and realizing you don't have to move. You don't have to react. You just have to remain. I used to think strength was persistence. Now I see it's patience. Persistence is the muscle that keeps you going. Patience is the muscle that keeps you from going too far. Most traders confuse the two. They think continuing after loss is bravery. Sometimes it's just avoidance wearing armor. When you detach from sunk costs, you detach from the illusion of control. You stop trying to force outcomes and start honoring processes. You begin to respect uncertainty instead of fearing it. That respect becomes your edge. Because a calm trader sees what a desperate trader misses: opportunity that's not born of impulse, but of clarity. Every time I look back at my worst losses, I don't see bad analysis. I see emotional attachment. I see the person I was trying to defend, the one who couldn't bear being wrong. And I thank him. Because without him, I wouldn't have learned humility. And humility is the doorway to wisdom. There's something sacred about walking away from a trade before it destroys you. It's an act of surrender, not to the market, but to truth. It says, I value my peace more than my pride. And that's a statement most traders never make. They confuse peace with complacency. But peace is not passivity. It's precision. It's knowing exactly when enough is enough. Sometimes I think the market is a teacher disguised as chaos. It gives you endless chances to confront your ego, your fear, your attachment. Every candle is a question. Do you trust yourself yet? And every time you overtrade, your answer is not yet. But the good news is you can always try again tomorrow. Not to win, but to learn, to trade consciously, to let go faster, to stay human in a world built on numbers. The greatest freedom I've found in trading is the freedom to stop, not to quit, but to pause, to step away when the mind starts making bargains with the past, to close the platform and remember that my value isn't in my balance, but in my awareness. When you stop needing the next trade to fix you, you finally become the kind of trader who can last. There's a quiet dignity in ending something before it ends you. That's what the sunk cost fallacy steals your dignity to walk away. It tricks you into thinking that holding on is loyalty when really it's fear. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing how that same pattern appears everywhere in relationships and habits and dreams that no longer fit. And you begin to ask, what am I still carrying that no longer serves me? Every chart has an exit point. Every trade has a limit. And so does every attachment. If you want to evolve as a trader, you have to evolve as a person. You have to develop the courage to cut not only losses, but illusions, to say goodbye to versions of yourself that once made sense but no longer do. When you can do that, you start seeing beauty in letting go. You start understanding that every loss, when accepted, becomes wisdom stored. That's what mastery is, not perfection, but integration. It's not about avoiding mistakes, it's about transforming them into awareness. Sometimes I still open my old trading journals. I read the entries from nights when I was broken, desperate, promising myself one more chance. And I don't feel shame anymore. I feel gratitude. Because those pages are proof of evolution, proof that I once cared enough to lose and later learned enough to stop losing myself in the process. Trading has taught me the most human lesson of all, that attachment is the root of suffering and awareness is the way out. The moment you become aware, the trap dissolves. The market no longer defines you. Loss no longer defines you. You stand on the other side of need, quiet, steady, free. So if you find yourself saying just one more trade pause, ask yourself, who's speaking? Is it the trader or the ego? Is it the present moment or the past trying to replay itself? And if it's the past, let it go. It's already done its job. It taught you what not to repeat. There's nothing left to prove, not to the market, not to anyone, not even to yourself. Because the real victory is invisible. It's the peace that comes from walking away without resistance. It's the calm that comes when you no longer need to win to feel whole. I don't chase one more trade anymore. I chase one more moment of clarity, one more breath between impulse and action, one more chance to choose awareness over reaction. And in that choice, I find everything I was looking for in the market: patience, discipline, and freedom. So now when the screen glows late at night and the old whisper returns, I smile, because I know it's not the market calling me. It's my past asking for attention, and I've learned to answer with silence. The market will always be there tomorrow. The question is, will you still be whole enough to meet it? That's what trading really is, not the pursuit of profit, but the preservation of peace. And if you can master that, you'll never need just one more trade again. If you're still here, maybe you felt it too, that ache that comes after the loss, that need to press the button just one more time. But maybe now you see it differently. You see how just one more isn't about profit. It's about attachment, and how freedom doesn't come from winning, it comes from walking away. Every trade has a cost. Every cost has a lesson, and every lesson has an ending if you're brave enough to close it. So the next time your mind whispers just one more smile, you've already heard that story before. You don't need to live it again. This is Mind Over Markets, where the real trade is between your emotions and your awareness. And every moment of stillness is another profit in peace. Until next time, trade with clarity, trade with presence, trade with calm.